Is it weird to you? I mean, I'm still kind of trying to get comfortable with it.
Did she hold the door for you?
Yo, no, we're not.
I could see a pedicure.
Would you?
Depends on his feet.
That could be Mara's feet, and you do it.
No way, you about to be cutting up my hands.
Yo, what's going on? This is
the Tim and Tam Talks. All right, look, bring it home. Let's get into this.
We're gonna have a lot of great conversations. Yo, what's going on? Welcome back to another Tuesday edition of Tim and Tam Talks, the Back Pew. I am your co-host, Tim Nicholas.
And I'm Tam. What's good, Tim?
What's good, Tam? What's good, kid? How are you?
I'm good. Like, we're both on location today. I'm in Dallas and you out in Seattle. So yeah, this is different.
I know, right? And then you're in Dallas when I'm, of course, in Seattle. So excuse me, we'll have to do a live edition next week since you'll be in town for a couple of weeks.
Yeah. I'll be here till next week. So let's do it.
Well, definitely can't wait. So let's go ahead and kind of just jump in, guys. We just really appreciate you guys joining us tonight. Thank you so much for watching. Click follow, subscribe, and like at the bottom. And as you know, on Tuesday nights here at Tim and Tam Talks, the Back Pew Conversations, we love to have you guys being interactive with us. We will get to your questions, your comments, all of those things throughout this time. So definitely feel free to jump in on the conversations. All right. So Tam, what are we starting with today?
So tonight, guys, we're talking about the Keke and the Darius Jackson situation. If you haven't been under a rock, and I'm pretty sure you haven't, I'm pretty sure you already have seen on social media what's been going on. The stories are now coming back and unfolding on both sides, Tim. So initially what we saw was Keke actually did a restraining order and also wanted to get full custody of their baby. But as of today or yesterday or today, looks like Darius actually released some video. We also seen some video of the mom that's coming out and saying that he's been putting hands on Keke for over a year. And she was trying to get a lifeline with her brother. I think we actually have that particular video. So before we actually dive into it, let's see what the mom had to say.
I've never done anything like this. I've been in this business for 22 years. I've seen a lot of stuff, but this is I can't help myself. For Sharonis Jackson to post on his Twitter, the ridiculous stuff that he's posted when he knew his brother was abusive. I went to Sharonis over a year ago and told him that his brother was abusive to my daughter. And he said, well, I used to be like that too. What? So now he's posting on Twitter like he's this special guy when we know he's a big boy in Hollywood. He's disrespectful to women just like his little brother. He taught his brother how to be abusive. So he don't get to act like he's this special guy. No, you're a boy and you're a part of the problem.
Hey, you see I had to cut those gloves out. Okay, so here's the thing. If you guys are like me, we've never seen Keke Palmer's mom. She's been silent for the most part throughout Keke's whole career. And now that all of this stuff is unfolding, even with the whole Usher situation, Tim, her mom was still pretty silent as it relates to Keke's livelihood, her relationship, and dare I say I was going to say baby daddy, but her kids' father, her son's father. And everybody was talking about this situation. It was look, for weeks, we all discussed this situation. And now it's worse, right? Now, when you get to a point where you're putting hands on someone, obviously that's escalated. Tim, did you see the video of what Darius actually recorded?
I heard about it, and I know Shade Room had posted something, but what do you have on this guy?
Yeah, so I didn't get the video, but innately what was happening is that it sounds like, he was stating, Darius allegedly states that the mom actually escalated the situation. He said that He went to Keke Palmer's home to pick up their son. The son was nowhere to be found. And that's when they got into a verbal argument, which Keke called her mom, put her on speakerphone. And that's when the mom, you can hear the mother saying something about putting a bullet in the back of his, you know what, right? So, and then the video goes off, right? And it's at that point, it was stated that allegedly Darius tried to take Keke's phone. And that's how you see all of this over the couch, back and forth stuff that's going on. He's saying that's the aftermath. He was saying, I was just trying to take her phone away. It's not really me putting my hands on her. You guys got it wrong. This is proving that I was just taking the phone. So I want to pause there. It's a lot to talk about.
Wow.
What do you have this? What do you have to say? Like it's so much that's unfolding. I don't even know if we know the full story yet, but with the information that we have in front of us, what are your thoughts?
The warning signs were there for the whole world to see. When that man got upset and Keke Palmer got on stage and was dancing with Usher. Listen, I get it. Usher, he's a crooner. He's a handsome dude. My wife got on stage, danced with Usher. That's all it would be, was a dance. Okay. I get it. Might be a smidge jealous because it's Usher for crying out loud. But am I going to put hands on my wife? Am I going to slap my wife? Am I going to do anything to disrespect my wife because she was dancing with another man, a superstar of a man that brought her on stage? No. It's just vile. It's completely vile. We have never really heard Keke Palmer be in the media for anything negative. She's typically in the media for positivity and for positive things. And so Keke's like everybody's little sister. She's the little sister that you just probably never had, right? You know, we just root for Keke. And this is just unfortunate behavior. Darius, I remember hearing the mom talk about the brother, bringing the brother involved and things like that. I'm telling you, I think that this man needs some serious help. You have your child involved, and there's so many signs of domestic violence. There's so many signs of being a narcissist and manipulative. And when things don't necessarily go his way, then it's time to exert power from a physical aspect, which we've seen and heard in our families time and time again in some way, shape, or form. It's not good behavior. And he's really got to check himself and do what you got to do to salvage the relationship that you can have with your son, because ultimately now we're talking about generational curses. That's going to be on your son. So I'm really, while I didn't see the video on with Darius trying to CYA, for lack of better words, because at that point now it's out that Keke has accused you of putting hands on her. Now you want to try to find any way to credit yourself in the court of public opinion. That's a coward move. If you messed up, you messed up, and own it, B. That's it.
Yeah.
But there's none of that here. There's no accountability, which means that this pattern and this cycle is going to continue.
Yeah. I agree with you. This whole situation, as you mentioned, Keke's always been pretty private when it comes to her life. So to have her life in the forefront in this way is very much appalling, which makes me wonder. It automatically puts the spotlight on the other person just because of the way she's carried herself this whole time, from childhood to now adulthood to now motherhood, right? So we have all of these things happening. And just the way that Darius, we talked about this with the whole Usher thing, the way that he responded to that situation on Twitter rather than keeping that conversation in-house. There is no reason why should have been in the group chat when it came to, oh, you a mother, like, okay, if she's a mother, this is also your child's mother. So why would you put this out there for the whole world to see? It's one thing where you feel like this is a negative light, but you're also putting a negative light on her. Like behind closed doors, I get it. But you have somebody that is okay with having this type of language about somebody that they had a child with in front of the world, and God put God in everybody. So when we're looking at this particular situation, oh, I was just trying to get her phone. Why? This is her property. What are you trying to get her phone for? You know? And then the whole mom thing where she's maybe trying to get a lifeline, to hear the brother say, "Oh, I used to be that way too." It's like, this is just like normal, natural behavior, is boggling to me. So I just want to shout out Keke. A lot of people don't leave this situation, right? A lot of people keep it silent. We see that this has been happening allegedly for about 2 years. So if it's happening for 2 years, I'm so glad that she's finally come forward to say something, because some people just never make it out.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree wholeheartedly. And it looks like it has been happening for the past 2 years, because the timestamp on the first video was February 13th, 2022. So this has been in question for almost 2 years. So it's not a good look. It's not a good look. So we got a comment here. Let's see. John Anthony, how are you, my man? He says, when you are married, you do not voluntarily put yourself in situations to cause discourse in your marriage. To get on stage wasn't only disrespectful to your significant other, but to yourself as well. He then follows up by saying there is no excuse to put hands on anyone. Trust was broken. You want to go first, or would you like me to go first?
Go ahead, my brother.
John, you are correct on both sides. Yes, when you are married or in a relationship, you don't necessarily want to voluntarily put yourself in situations to cause discourse. Where, number one, she was not married. Ooh. Okay. My wife said, was she married? No, she wasn't. But on top of that, relationship wise, I can understand what you mean by putting yourself in that situation. However, how could she have put herself in that situation when she was brought on stage as a guest? She was brought on stage as a guest, and dance. It's entertainment at the end of the day. It's entertainment. As a man, I wouldn't necessarily in that state think that my spouse is disrespecting me personally, but to each his own. To each his own. But regardless of the fact, I'm so glad that you follow up by saying there's no excuse to put hands on anyone, because regardless of what she did, she didn't deserve any of the abuse. That's the bottom line. What she has been getting compared to what she did hasn't. They're not on the same level. You know, if I felt disrespected, I'll have a conversation with my wife or significant other saying, "Hey, I didn't like that. Please don't do it again." But I'm not gonna be upset, put hands on her, and be like, you shouldn't have done that, and that's justifiable. That's never justifiable. So we just got to make sure that we put the blame on who it should be on, and it's on the brother, because the brother was the one that couldn't control his temper. He couldn't control his hands. He couldn't control that. So that's the problem in my mind. What you got?
Yeah, I'm right there with you. And we're looking at this as people with 9 to 5s or entrepreneurs or whatever the case may be. Like, we're not tap dance. I don't think you guys tap dance on the weekends. You might, but I'm not tap dancing, on the weekends. I don't do videos and, elaborate outfits, but that's Keke's world, right? So what she had on really is not, for me, mind blowing, because she's an entertainment. She's a Jill of all trades. She does a lot of things. So she left the house like that. I mean, did he not see her when she left the house like that? The only thing that she got to do was really sing with the artist that she was going to go see. She didn't dance on him. She sashayed away and did a little 1-2, So for me, I'm like, okay, she didn't even do anything out of the ordinary that she wouldn't have done in her field. Right. So I get all of that. If he had a problem with it, get it. Listen, everybody has the ability to run their household the way that they need to in order for it to be this ideal home. So I get all of that, but when we get back to what we're talking about today, which is the abuse and the detriment of him saying that he's going to kill himself and all these suicidal things allegedly, that's not anything that you play with, because this day and age people will do the whole murder suicide stuff. So that's not anything you want to play with yourself, with your child. So I'm going to say it again. Kudos kudos to Keke for getting out of there. Hopefully, in these situations, Tim, sometimes the legal system does not do a good job at taking care of women and protecting women. So hopefully they do a phenomenal job in taking care of Keke as she's transitioning, and protecting herself and their child. And hopefully it doesn't stop anything that God has for her. That's what I got.
Absolutely. One thing that we overlooking, Tam, we got to look at how traumatic this is got to be for her, and her family, and her mom, and her son, where this is never going to go away. In the site online, we're going to be able to Google this stuff, YouTube this stuff for the rest of our days because of this incident. And so now Keke has to shield and protect her son from the backlash, the words, the things that may be spewed disrespectfully towards his father, towards his mother. It's like it's so many different effects to this situation that I don't think that people are really thinking about. And then you mentioned about like the whole suicide thing with him, right? That's all manipulation. That's hey, I'm gonna do something radical and drastic to change your mind and alter your thinking on whatever it is you want to do. If you try to get away from me, hey, I'll kill myself.
Yeah,
Those kind of things. That's all manipulation. It's not necessarily something about playing with, because he is playing with it. He's playing with it because of the reason of manipulation. But it is nothing to play with, especially when you have seen murder suicides among domestic violence. That happens. Unfortunately, it happens all the time.
I'm breaking stuff. Sorry.
You good?
Not my house. All right. But yeah, I completely agree. I completely agree, which is, again, kudos to her. Kudos to her mom for supporting her. Because listen, sometimes you have these moms that don't believe you too. You just have people altogether that just don't believe your reality. And kudos for her for having a video in the house. Like, oftentimes you don't have proof. It's literally your word against their word, right? And oftentimes nothing really happens. So just kudos all the way around. Shanika, thank you so much for joining us tonight. It says just coming in, but she left us a comment. She said, "I'm just coming in, but their relationship is the perfect example of how someone can be in an abusive relationship and no one has any idea because the picture looks good."
Yeah, a lot of rumination going on. A lot of times people will post all the happy memories while being in misery. And that is a prime example, like Shanika said. People will post pictures and present as if their life is great and perfect, but behind the scenes is hell on earth. And that's really what seems like it was happening. And it was happening that way until it couldn't happen anymore, until it had to come out, till the exposure had to come out, because it was escalating and getting worse to a point where she needed to say something. So now you got the court of public opinion on your side, but only that, you now have a restraining order against him, rightfully so. This was the right move. It was the right move.
Yeah. John says what's interesting is how he's playing the victim after victimizing someone else. Cowardly act.
It's all a part of the narcissism game. If I tell you that I'm offended and hurt by you and you find a reason to play the victim, that's narcissism all the way. So he's just being very narcissistic. It's a trait that's in so many abusive relationships. So it is a cowardly act, my man. I agree.
Awesome. All right. Looks like we talked about the Keke situation. So now we're going to get into another couple that actually called it quits, and none other than the infamous Lori Harvey. Dating 101 with Lori Harvey. So we're going to talk about this because obviously social media again is going nuts. Anytime Lori Harvey breaks up or gets into a brand new relationship, guess what? The world has something to say. So, Tim, let's talk about it. Obviously, we know the last victim. I mean, the last.
The last victim. Yeah.
We know the last victim. They both called it the quits. They both took to social media announcing that their breakup was amicable. So, what are your thoughts on this whole situation with Lori Harvey?
If it was so amicable, they ended up unfollowing each other and all that other stuff. So how is that? How is that amicable? Yeah, they in the same place. I think it was like a gala or some type of fashion show last week.
Yeah.
And they didn't even, if y'all were so amicable, y'all didn't even speak. So, okay. But this speaks to Lori Harvey once again. Lori Harvey is, I'm not going to say she a mother's child. I ain't going to say that because I don't know. I don't know Marjorie like that.
Yeah.
But clearly, she doing her thing. You can't knock her per se for doing her thing because she is single and she can live her life however she want to live it. Right? That's the one side. The flip side is though, man, you keep running through good brothers though. Why you keep running through good like Michael B. Jordan? That breakup broke my heart. Okay.
Oh
I just said, man, Michael B. Jordan looks so in love with this girl. So in love. And then Damson Idris, he looked like he was in love with her too. But
yeah.
I just didn't care for that relationship because I was like, man, he the rebound. He's clearly the rebound. But it just speaks to her character. Like, I feel like if you want to date, but why are you getting in these full-blown relationships with guys with no intention on going to the next level? Now, I know women have been saying that for years upon years upon years. I get it. But it's just, as a man to see it, it's unfortunate. It's kind of crazy to me. But to each his own. She is single. I'll give her that side. But it's just the perception is distasteful in a way. That's just my thing. Like, date, but why are you making these dudes fall in love with you? You know what I'm saying? Like, they falling for you. They falling for you and you keep playing. Stop playing. That's what I got.
Wrong. Okay. First of all,
I forgot she probably she's hypergamy too. So
first of all, she's dating. This is what it's supposed to be. You're supposed to date. You're supposed to get in there, see if this is the person. If it's not, you're supposed to move around. Okay, here's the thing. Dating 101 with Lori Harvey. I feel like she's doing this appropriate way. We should all take a page from Lori Harvey's book. Let me tell you why. Oftentimes, a lot of people are staying in these relationships that are not serving them, hoping that people are just going to change, hoping that maybe they'll change enough for the other person to be good enough. And they know it's clearly not working, right? Why we are always trying to force ourselves. We're trying to force, what is it? The widget into the peg or the peg into the widget. We're always trying to force ourselves in places that we don't fit. But dating should look a lot like Lori Harvey. The only difference why men are having these issues is because women are operating and moving how they do. Okay. There lies.
That's not all that. Hold on.
There lies the problem.
Yes, I agree with you. I agree with all of that. She's living her best life, dating. There's nothing wrong with that. My question is, though, why does it have to be public, though? If you are unsure about this person, why it got to be public?
Is she making it public, or is people all up in her business? I'm pretty. She's
her.
not.
No. Her. If she wanted it private, it would have stayed private. That's her publicist letting it get out. That's a lot. I'm just saying I get it. And like you said, maybe a little bit of it is, dang, it's karma, for us fellas. Maybe it's an uncomfortable thing, but just me, I'm just like, I don't know. I just wouldn't want to be on pins and needles thinking that I'm giving my all to this person only for it to be, man, it's in the news. I find out in the news, like, we're not even dating no more.
Gosh. So you've never had a period in your life where you were dating and you just thought every time that person was the one and you broadcast it every time?
I didn't broadcast it every time, no.
When you were younger, you didn't do that?
No.
No. Oh, you was player. I'm sorry, I forgot who I was talking to.
You got jokes. You was player, huh?
Sorry,
Himalayas.
I forgot. Reformed. All right, so Shanika leaves us a comment. She said, however, and she started with, I think she's just living her best life with no judgment. However, Kevin Samuel's voice, his value may be looked down onto the next man, or her value may be looked down onto the next man because her relationships are public. So I don't think, this is me personally, I don't think there's a man in history who if they had an opportunity with Lori, they'd be like, nah, she did with Michael B. Jordan. I don't think that, because they're going to think they're different. They're going to think whatever they're going to think. Ego comes into play when it comes to fellas. Here, let's be real.
Yeah, true.
Let's be real. So I don't personally, people can say all they want to say, but at the end of the day, people do what they want to do. And I feel like her value is increasing every time she does this. It's increasing.
So let me get this straight. So her stock is increasing every time she dates a man. Her stock increases every time she dates a man and leaves him and kicks him to the curb after 1 year.
Her value goes up because there's no way you can be with the type of man that she's been with, and then some joker gonna come in there and try to give her pieces. He know he gonna have to step his game up. He know he's gonna have to put his best foot, face, and arm forward talking to her because he knows how she moves. She is displaying her boundaries and what she wants on full display. Price went up. You hear me?
I agree with Shanika. I think your stock going down.
Boo.
I think your stock going down. I'm just saying, I don't think your stock going up. Like, for somebody that, like myself, who is not looking for somebody who done been around the block with and all that.
How do you know? What do you? And this is the thing. We don't know if she's having sex. She does these NDAs. We don't know what she's doing. This girl.
You mean to tell me?
I don't know what she might be a nun. I have no idea. I don't. Tam, I judge righteously. I
can't even believe you right now.
I don't know.
Tam.
She looks holy to me. We don't know. Like, for real, we're not in their relationship. So we don't know what they're doing behind closed doors. We know that she is simply young and she's dating. That's all that we know.
That's all we know. You're right.
That's all that. And she doesn't put herself out there to show us that she's out there. So it's basically
all the public display of affection that she gave Michael B. Jordan. They weren't sleeping together?
Listen, were you there?
I wasn't.
That's all I'm saying. We weren't there. No face, no case.
Oh my goodness. I cannot believe you. What?
John leaves us a comment. Hey, John. He says, before going into a relationship or dating, each party needs to be transparent with what they are looking for in a relationship. Set the expectation up front. And if they're not in mutual agreement, date as friends. I agree with that.
That's cool.
Let's see what your wife has to say. She says, right. Date them all. Sleep with no one.
That's because she was doing that.
Listen, that is the way to go.
But not everybody does that.
Oh, so when you're a female, you can't date like that. When you're
I didn't say no. I didn't say that.
Wow.
No, I didn't say you can't date. I'm not saying that. But would I want a woman who has, like, literally everybody has been up in her? No, I wouldn't. I would not want to have a woman who would constantly date and sleep around. No, I wouldn't want that.
But how do you know she's sleeping?
You ask.
Oh my gosh. We just did a show about the number not mattering the other day. Did we have this show? We just
But what did I say though? But
pick a
no.
side, my brother. Are they redeemed or not?
Oh no, you're not gonna throw that on me. Because I told both of them, I said, I agree with the fact that you forgive no matter how many partners you had, but also from the soul tie aspect, that means a lot. So you mean to tell me, let's even look biblically here. Do we really want a woman or a man for that matter, same thing, with a whole bunch of soul ties? No.
We
That's
don't
why you keep
know
saying
if he's having sex. You're assuming. You're assuming she, you know what? People don't kiss it. They're not kissing until there is an NDA. This is why dating 101, take a page out of her book, write it on your heart. Okay.
Okay.
There you go. There you go. Shamika leaves us another comment. She says, ego, yes. One would be glad to have her, but they'll prefer a woman who's known by everyone, let alone a list of dudes they know.
Thank you.
Your wife says, only evidence. Maybe.
She don't count.
No case, no case. Date outside your circle. I agree. I'm going to wrap this up with saying, I don't see anything wrong with what she's doing. If she was, as we know, sleeping around multiple baby daddies, living life kind of reckless, let's say Krishan, what's the other weird one? Sexy Redden. If she was doing all of that,
Sexy Redden, did you just
Sexy
say?
Redden? She's doing all of that, then I would get it. There's a lot to be said there, but whatever she's doing it in the best possible classy way. Men may not like it. I get it. It's hard seeing yourself in a reflection, but it's okay.
Okay. Each his own. I'll leave it at that.
Which leads us how to properly date. Dun, dun, dun. Oh. So I brought this topic and I want to talk about, I'm going to get serious for a second. I want to talk about properly dating as it relates to dating versus marriage perspectives. I would love your perspective. You being married, I was married. I'm not anymore. So I'm gonna listen to you because, maybe the second time is the charm, as they say, Tim. So teach us, my brother, on your perspective on properly dating. I'm going to give my advice too, but on your perspective of properly dating, what advice would you have for the people?
Date with intention. That's what I would say. Date with intention. Whatever your intention is. Shanika said that was so shady.
I'm sorry. I'm back to myself.
Just date with intention and make sure that you communicate the reason why you're dating. If you're dating to court and to be married, please communicate that. If you are dating to casually have friends and to casually have sex, communicate that you want to casually have sex. Not encouraging that, but be honest about what your intentions are. That would be the very first thing that I would say is date with intention. I would also say be authentic from the jump when you're dating, because all these things about misrepresenting yourself, we hear that so many times where people put on a mask in the beginning part of dating, those first few dates, and you don't really get a true idea of who you really are, or that person doesn't get a good idea of who you really are. Just come in and be yourself, be authentic from the jump, and allow that person to accept you from the beginning. The core of who you are should be exactly who you say you are from the jump. So if I'm a loving person, if I'm giving, if I'm understanding, if I have some flaws, like bring all of that to the table initially, because one thing that we don't have, y'all, is we don't have a lot of time. We're not into wasting anybody's time with dating. So I would say how to properly date is a date with intentionality, and definitely just come being authentic. and allow people to accept you for who you are, so that we can understand, is this going to be a person that I can date? Is this going to be a person in my life for a season? Or is this person going to be in my life for a lifetime, or whatever the case may be? So those are just a couple of things that I'll start with. But that's what I got. What you got?
I appreciate that. Thanks for sharing. What I would add too is I I feel like most of us we don't date. We automatically, when we think we found our person, we kind of take on the trait of being husband and wife before we even get married. And we start to try to have life experiences with a person before we're engaged and married, and we just simply do things backwards. So properly dating, one thing I found um, right now that I'm trying to do is really save some of the best moments for marriage, right? So for me, I talk about this often that I'm abstinent. I'll be abstinent 2 years on the 25th of this month, and I'm super excited about my walk. But I also just challenge people, not beyond the sex thing, is just being able to not wait for marriage to have serious conversations. Too often when you're dating, you're like traveling, and you're taking a lot of photos, and you're going out to eat all the time, and you really enjoying yourself, and then you get married and it's not fun anymore because you didn't have the serious conversations. Now you're in marriage, and now you're having these serious tough conversations that you should have been having while you were dating, and then people get divorced because you don't align on the important things. So dating properly requires you to be upfront about what's serious, like align on faith. If it's, if politics is a deal breaker for you, align on that. Raising kids, and where do you want to live, goals, all of those things. Make sure that you're walking your purpose, and those foundational things align up front. Don't wait till marriage to try to ask these difficult questions, and then both of y'all are like, dang, it used to be fun, and why can't we get back to what we used to do? Because you weren't supposed to do, you were doing stuff out of order. So for me, the best advice that I would give you is just change your thought process on how you're courting, how you're dating, and just being unafraid to have more of those serious conversations at the beginning, rather than getting your heart all involved and now you're settling in a relationship where you don't fit.
Yeah, I agree. And if there are ways to where you could be friends first, please start there. Start with a friendship, right? Um, that's what I did with my wife and I. Like my wife and I, we were friends first. We started as friends when we first hung out. It was just as friends, and I genuinely wanted to get to know her as a person. And as I learned about her, I knew that this was the one for me.
Mm.
You have to take your time, and you have to take the sexual element out, the physical element out, and that's important, you know. And so I would also recommend that, like, please start a friendship with people. That way people know that you see them as a human being and not just an object, because that's the world that we live in nowadays. We live in a world where everything is sexualized. So you have to have those conversations and know who's for you or who wants something from you. But you'll only accomplish that by establishing a friendship, some type of communication with someone. So I think sometimes we got to go back to the basics on how we deal with people and how we communicate with people, and not overcomplicate it. The way to get to love and marriage and all of those things is through friendship. You got to build a foundation, or it's going to fall onto quicksand. The moment one thing happens or an argument happens, you guys are ready to throw in the towel and break up. And it may be over something that could be resolved easily and dealt with easily, but because you skipped those steps, like Tam mentioned, then you don't have a good foundation to go back and everybody take a step back and breathe and say, okay, listen, it's not worth losing a relationship or jeopardizing a relationship. Let's go back to our friendship and how we talk about things and how we deal with things. Let's talk about it this way, because the respect will be there from a foundation aspect, and it needs to stay there at all times. So
I agree. Shanika had a question for you.
Shanika says, how long were y'all friends before you knew she was the one? I had an idea that she was the one pretty early on. But in our friendship, I want to say when I first knew, it was actually right before we started dating. You know, I think I knew she was the one like probably that week before we started dating. I had saw signs that she could have possibly have been the one, but once she like really started opening up and communicating and getting to know me and me getting to know her on a like deeper level, like a whole week, we like just talked for hours upon hours. And just in those conversations, that's when I knew. I was like, once we get in this thing, I'm all yours. And that's what it was because we had laid a foundation months prior to that on how we could just be friends and just be in each other's presence and not even think about the physical aspect, just getting to know one another. So that foundation has been amazing, which is why we have an amazing, strong marriage now, because we laid that foundation, and I thank God for it.
Beautiful, beautiful. All right. Enough of that mushy stuff.
Nothing much. She said, "You the one that made it serious."
You know, I gotta be. We gotta ebbs and flows. All right, let's get into this video that you sent me about wasting time. You sent me a video, and I was like, "What the heck is this?" All right, guys. So it's a video about this young man saying, and he was wasting females' time. So let's get into.
I robbed some women of their baby making years, dragging them along. They built me up. Look at me now, and look at them. If you were creative, I folded you into my artwork. If you were in my artwork, I gave you a job. I gave you a job. I mastered your life. I gave you a house, food, everything you needed. I protected and provided for you. I did what men are supposed to do. You know, I remember different quotes I said, like just like really manipulative things to say, like, no one's gonna love you the way I do. My God, I'm ashamed of it. And that's what makes me angry when I see my brothers do that. We can't do that to the women that have done so much for us to even exist. And I saw myself for the first time. All the things I'm saying now, woo, horror. Bit by bit, I stripped myself of my former self. And I swore that the next relationship that I would get in, I would work as hard at love as I worked in my career.
This is your post, your topic, Tim. So why'd you share this one with us tonight?
Wow, when I was just scrolling through social media, it hit home for me. It was pretty powerful. I was him. I was that man. I was that man. Now, not necessarily in the same way. I mean, first of all, the man said that he would clothe them and he would buy them stuff and he would give them shelter and stuff. He definitely sounds like daddy more than anything in that situation.
Yeah.
But I could relate to the manipulation as well, you know. Everything he said was spot on when he said that I have to strip myself every day and I'm so angry and he's ashamed of his actions because he robbed women of their baby making years, which meant that these women were emotionally manipulated by him, thinking that it would have been something else based on the fact that he was leading them on in those ways. And I just saw a shell of my former self doing the same things. Out of my divorce, I wowed out. Okay. I wowed out. I had probably a 3 to 5 month stretch where I just wowed out.
Is that right, Lori Harvey?
You said what?
Is that right, Lori Harvey?
I was.
Oh, now it's okay. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah. Okay, well.
Go ahead. Go. Sorry.
No, I had a stretch and it was bad. So But one thing I remember praying to God as I was being more vulnerable with myself in my healing period, I said, God, I'm sorry for the things that I have done to hurt women. If you bless me with a wife this time, at some point in the future, I'll be the best husband ever. Which meant that, listen, heal me, transform my mind, my heart, my soul before I get into something long term forever, because I don't want to damage the next person after all the pain that I've caused. And so it was a coming to Jesus moment for me as I was listening to him speak. And he was coming, it sounded like he was doing the same thing where he had this level of self-awareness he never had before. He just was all centered on himself at the time. And so when you do take the focus off of yourself and you really look at other people and the people that you've hurt, the people that you have betrayed, and you just made bad and poor decisions, when you actually look in the mirror and you actually change courses on that and you repent, man, then at that point it's like, God, man, I feel bad about who I am. I feel bad about how I was. Like, you really look at yourself and say, that really wasn't me. My heart really wasn't. It's not really who my heart desires to be, but that's who I was, because of sin. So we just got to take full responsibility for those things. And I applaud him for doing it. I really applaud him for being that man and doing it and saying, it makes me angry when I see other men doing this and saying this and everything. Even with other men, if I know that you're a cheater, I'm not even rocking with you. I'm not rocking with you. You know what I'm saying? So it was just a great thing for me. And I felt like it was important to share because we don't have a lot of men stepping up and saying, yo, I messed up. And what happens is that we keep being in the same cycle of blaming women. Oh, I cheated because you're not giving me enough sex. I cheated because you weren't attentive enough to my needs. How many times have we as men said that? Now we got to come from another place and say, look, I'm not going to cheat on you regardless of, even if my needs don't get met, I still have a level of respect for you, let alone myself, and I'm not going to put myself in that position. And so it's a beautiful thing, man. I enjoyed it. So I'm off my soapbox. What you got?
It was just refreshing hearing you. I think, those moments where I get to be accountable for women and you're just like, so, I have that moment when you're talking about, as John said, listen, John and you, and I feel like the guy on the video, you all said you had that come to Jesus moment, right? And then Shanika comes in with like, it is like just really refreshing to hear people in general. It doesn't matter if it's a man or, female, whatever. It's just refreshing to hear people be accountable for what they did, their actions, and how they may have affected others. Like, we don't talk enough about that. To your point, there is a lot of, well, I did this because you did that conversation, right? And we're just, like you said, replaying and reliving this cycle of trauma, but we're not responsible or accountable for our part in it, right?
Yeah.
So kudos to him. One of the very last things that he mentioned on the video was him talking about, he said, I'm going to love as hard as I go out and work. I was like, dang, I wish I would have heard what he was going to say after that, because we have a generation of people. We talked about chasing the bag on like one of our older episodes, where generation of people who are trying to maybe break generational curses, or trying to prove that they're somebody, or ego, or whatever the thing is, while we're chasing the bag, whatever we're trying to fill a void for, whatever, but how often do we fight and go that hard for people who love us? Oftentimes people can't use that same vigor when it comes to the house and the home. Things happen when you're in business and work, balls get dropped. But when we're at home, it's like, oh no, the ball got dropped. I got to let it go, or I got to cheat, or I got to do these things. So to hear someone be accountable and say that this time I'm going to love with everything in me. You're not going to be able to outlove me. That kind of thing. It's just really beautiful to listen to. And I think it's beautiful because now, even though, that was his experience in the past, now a woman can actually follow him.
Yes.
She can actually follow him because her heart is safe with him, because he's ready to actually hold it. And too often we be giving our heart away to people who don't have the capacity or the ability to hold our hearts. And the Bible tells us to guard our hearts above all, because out of everything, our hearts, everything flows. But we don't really take the time to see if people are able to actually hold our hearts. And to hear that he is like in position to do it, it just really does my heart well. And one thing about talk, though, I think you mentioned it a second ago. We talk about the person we want to be, we want to become, but our behavior shows who we really are. So I'm just really hoping that all of us, we can learn in how we talk, because all of us, we talk a really good game about who we want to be and who we are. But just be mindful of your behavior actually exposing if the audio and the video is actually lined up.
That's good. That's good. I like it. I like it. What comments we got?
John came in and said, when we can identify our opportunities missed in our previous relationships, it allows us to grow in our current relationship. He also followed up and said, one of my loudest echoes to my employees is that your spouse and family comes before your career.
Yes, definitely. How many times have we gone hard for our careers but not gone hard for our spouses?
Right?
Or how often, we've talked about this before in previous episodes, but how often do you see the spouse going hard for their boss, but they don't really submit to you?
Mm-hmm.
And that's just not cool. We got to do what we got to do, and we have to submit to work because they pay us and everything, but we're not a slave to them.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I get that. Shanika, this is a word. I can only date men that have had the come to Jesus moment. LOL. Yes. And it's very interesting. So my wife and I, we go live every couple of weeks, and we do like a Q&A, a marriage talk Q&A. And surprisingly, my wife said, she was sharing the story about a time where she asked me, who leads me? And I didn't remember the time she asked me that. I had to go back and think about it. But she randomly asked me who leads me. And I told her God. And that propelled her to follow me, because she knew where I get my leadership from, where I get my guidance from, where I get my direction from, where I get strength from. It's only one source where I get that from, and that's from God. And so that's what I encourage. And as a man, I am charged to make disciples of men. That's my job. That's my responsibility. That's what I'm called to do. So trust me, I'm trying to create a safe atmosphere so that we as men can come together and have more come to Jesus moments to where we know how to love our spouses and love our women and lead our families the right way. It starts with one person saying we're going to be brave enough and courageous enough to do it. And I'm on the front line trying to do that, trying to help y'all men too. So we got to have more coming to Jesus moments, because these women are really dependent on us, but they can't depend on us if we feel as though we're the source. We're not.
That's good. That's good. All right, let's dive headfirst into another topic. The next topic's pretty heavy, maybe not so, depending on what you're gonna say. Because you be getting so deep, Tim. I just don't understand it. I'm just kidding.
Mm-hmm. Well, all I know is you starting this one, so you can't. I'm tired of you alley-oop into me like you.
You do this to me every week. You're like, all right, hot potato, Tam. Messed up. Don't let us have a guess.
Oh yeah, I do.
Like, yeah, forget the guess. All right, Tam, what you got?
Stay ready so you don't have to get ready.
This is true. So the next topic is actually the challenge of healing. I wanted to talk about this we do a lot of talking about healing. Tim and I actually started this podcast. It was birthed off of healing. So this to me, I wanted to talk about it because I think it's just really important to talk about. Nobody really talks about the pain of healing, the challenges of healing. And what I wanted to deep dive into is that when you're going through this healing process, you're creating boundaries and you're actually doing the self work. What often happens is that other people who aren't healed become amplified because where you thought trauma was normal, where you thought abuse was normal, you had to unpack all of that stuff. And now you can see it for what it is. And when you're doing the self work, it's very much amplified. Like you can't dismiss like narcissism. You can really spot narcissism. Like when you're doing the work, you can spot like verbal abuse, right? Or physical abuse, even if it's subtle. So there's a challenge in healing because when you start to heal, you often start to lose people because you start to notice their toxic behaviors a little bit more loudly. So I wanted to talk about the just the ability to be okay with being alone as you're going through this healing process. A lot of people, when they get siloed, they often get depressed and they feel alone. I'm doing the work. Why am I losing people? That type of thing. That happens to all of us. So I just really wanted to talk about this, Tim, and just encourage somebody who's going through that process because it'll get better. Once you start to heal, you'll start to attract more healed people, right?
Yes.
But the thing when you're going through the healing process and you're starting to unpack some of that stuff, you start to realize who shouldn't be in your inner circle. And oftentimes it doesn't feel good losing people that maybe you grew up with, maybe people within your own family as well. But this is something that I just want you to identify and know that this is normal. And it is not you. It is just you becoming this new version of yourself where you're starting to see things for what they really are. And now you're starting to actually be exposed to how you can surround yourself with people who are moving in the same trajectory as you. And that's challenging, right? It's really challenging. But I just want to encourage you guys that listen, this is a normal process. Like, have you ever experienced that? Like while you were going through your healing, Tim?
Yes. Wholeheartedly, I did.
Mhm.
Trauma's like fog. It's like
Okay.
fog, right? Trauma, when it affects your brain, it fogs your decisions. It affects how you think. It affects how you react to things. Then you don't see things clear.
Mhm.
That's why it's so foggy, right? Trauma is foggy, but in order to clear up all the fog, all the smoke, all the things you can't see, you have to heal, right? You have to heal. But it's challenging because, first of all, change is painful.
Yeah.
To be on the other side of something, you have to go through something and you have to go through things. And what you're going through may not feel good. You're going to get stuck in the mud. You're going to take 2 steps forward, only to take 4 steps backwards sometimes. It's not a straight line process when it comes to healing. It can go up and down. It's an emotional roller coaster until you get stable. When you know that you're stable, the same people that you used to hang out with, like your taste changes, right? Your taste buds change. So the friends that you had, you may not want to kick it with them as much anymore because you just seeing things a little different and a little clearer. And that's going to make you not want to be around them as much. Not that you don't love them or care for them, but your spirit now is so sensitive, like you mentioned, is so sensitive to everything
Mm.
because you're seeing things in a new light and in a new way. So it's like being born again, right? You just so like your immune system is so light. So everything you're susceptible to hearing everything, seeing everything. You're susceptible to all of those things. So we have to be very, very careful. But the challenge I understand is that we're all built for relationship. We're all built for a relationship. We do not want to necessarily live life alone. I don't care how bad you are. I don't care. You can do it all by yourself. We were created for relationship. So get that out your mind, like, oh, I don't need anybody. No, you do.
Right.
The blessing is that we change who's in our circle as we grow. But that may take a while. Let's just say hypothetically, you moving on with life and you doing your thing and you are growing and healing. That's gonna bring some. That's gonna bring some lonely times. It's supposed to, because the only person that you're gonna always live with is yourself. You gotta learn to live with yourself, and that is challenging. And it's like, why do I feel so isolated? No, it's just that God has you He has you in a mating season. Like you are maturing. It's like a maturation process. You going from a caterpillar to a butterfly, and in that way, you got to be able to grow and blossom. But it's going to be painful sometimes.
That's good. That's good. Hopefully that was helpful. I know we segue to serious, but hopefully that helps somebody. We like to, especially if I'm out here alone, like me.
Like you. So the question is, all right, we're gonna get into a couple of comments after this, but I'll just ask you. I'm a alley-oop this back to you. So
Yeah.
with you being a woman who, single, also, you are also abstinent as well.
Mm-hmm.
How's that dynamic for you, being a woman of God who is single?
Yeah. Initially it was very challenging because I lost a lot of people in the storm of healing in the journey. I lost family, friends, people I thought would, you have people that you feel like will go the distance with you. I lost a lot of those people. But I realized it was because I didn't really know me. I didn't really know what I liked. I didn't really know who I needed in my circle, who I needed in my ear, who I could trust, all of those kinds of things. And trying to heal while also simultaneously trying to live life for God it's a whole nother thing, right? Because your purpose may not align to someone else. Your walk may not align to somewhere else. They might be a good person, but purposes are they're going this way and you're going, that way. So I would just say for me, I've started to appreciate the journey. I've started to appreciate this time, this season, where I get to spend a lot of time with God. Like when you're in relationship, it's not like we put God on the back burner, but when I was married, sometimes you would, you know how it is. You get into routine with your spouse, right? Yeah. And then you kind of stop getting out of the routine with God. And Paul talks about that. But I've started to get into this new routine with God. That way, when I have my serious relationship again, that I've already worked on my spirit man or woman or whatever you want to call it. I've already worked on that. So, and I've appreciated the moments of just being alone, the moments of having that intimacy with God, intimacy with myself, and really understanding what I like, what I love, what makes me happy, all of those things. And I think too many times do we kind of jump into relationship looking for happiness, looking for what we like, looking for joy. And if the person doesn't feel this imaginary emptiness that we have inside of us, they're not doing their job, when really that's our job, to make ourselves happy and whole and full and filled. So I'm just learning how to do that. So when I come in connectivity with somebody, I'm not one half and one half, I'm coming in whole. And hopefully I'm praying that, that person will also come in whole, and then we can walk together as one.
I love it. And that's going to happen for you. It's happening for you, sis. I love it.
I know. It is.
It's definitely happening.
What is this? Is this spam?
We got a story.
Man.
We got a story.
Story time.
Olivier, how you doing, ma'am?
What is this?
It says, having my...
This is spam, Tim. That's spam.
It is?
Oh. Yeah.
Oh, we got spam over here, y'all.
That's spam. Ignore.
All right, well, y'all keep commenting, because instead of spam coming in, And won't come in our stuff.
All right, let's get into the last serious topic we got before video.
Okay.
And this one is when to let go in dating. When to let go.
When to let go in dating.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, the simple thing is don't be a part of something that no longer serves you well. You know, I mean, that's one thing. If the relationship is no longer serving you well, a la Lori Harvey, if it's no longer serving you well,
Then dip out, sis.
dip out, bro. You know, same thing. Same. When to let go if spiritually you aren't aligned, to let it go.
Yeah.
Man, it's I'm not going to tell you this story. I'm not going to. Oh, should I tell it?
I feel like you should. You set it up.
I was engaged in the past
Oh, my.
a couple years ago. And what the heck I was thinking. I mean, my wife will tell you she'll tell you, what was he doing dating before I came around? That's what she'll say. But I dated and got engaged very briefly, but it was a mistake and it was a shame. It was terrible. I recognized that I was being used and abused to some degree in that situation, and from a verbal aspect and just even from a lot of stuff. And I knew that I needed to let it go because I found myself stressed. I found myself always losing sleep. What I was doing never measured up to the expectations. It always felt like the needle was always going up. The bar was always being set higher than where, like, it never was going to be good expectations anywhere. So I knew that I needed to let that situation go to preserve my peace, to save my sanity. And I was happy to do that. And it was one of the best decisions I could have ever made. But I made that decision out of trauma and pain. I made the decision to get in a relationship with somebody over trauma and pain. So it really was cleaning up my own mess. Sometimes you got to go back and clean up your own mess because you didn't just spilled everything on the floor. You didn't spill milk on the floor and you didn't just made it worse by just walking through it. And I just felt like I was just doing that. So you got to let go when your spirit is not in alignment with the relationship.
Mm-hmm. I 1000% agree with you. And I want to empower whoever out there is in Never Never Land that's watching, that if you're in a relationship and it is just not working, do not think you can do the emotional work for somebody else. Do not think you can do the healing for anyone else. Like, you are not a trauma center. And I think a lot, especially women, I was like, maybe men too, but I'm not a man, so I can't speak for y'all. But women, we are nurturers. We're natural nurturers. And oftentimes we try to, heal people and things that are broken. And we cannot, we simply just cannot, do that. You especially to the extent of exhausting yourself, right? Or killing yourself, killing your spirit, those kinds of things. So I would just challenge the relationship while dating as much as possible. And when I say challenge, I'm like not going in there and being difficult. I just mean like challenge the important things like we talked about earlier. Challenge the foundational things. See if it's a really firm foundation. See if at the first sign of pain or heartbreak or loss, if they're going to take the exit ramp, or see if they're going to be there to support you and hold you up. So to help you get to, the other side, or to support you, or pour words of encouragement back into you, or speak life over you, those kinds of things. So I would absolutely just challenge it. And when that does not happen, you have to stop giving passes. You have to stop watering dead soil. You just have to. Like, when you notice you put fertilizer in there, you poured water, you went back, you put the sun, you check the sunlight, you added extra light. Nothing is still sprouting. Nothing is growing. And you're just like, oh, I'm going to give it I'm going to give him 3 years. I'm going to give him 5 years. You're going to look up, like the guy said, your childbirthing years are going to pass you. Your youth is going to pass you. All the things that you should be experiencing with your husband, the one that is sure about you, the one that you're sure about, you're going to miss those opportunities holding on to a dead thing. So you have to learn to let go. And I think it's just so important, because too often do we teach how to like stay married and stay in the relationship, and you got to fight for it. And those things are beautiful when you're married. Those things are amazing when you're married. But when you're dating and it is simply not working, you are unequally yoked, stop. Just let go. Release. I know they look good, but release release them. Release them and send them on so they can find their person, and so you can find yours. That's all I got.
That was good. That was good. I totally agree with you 1,000% as well. We're not wasting time. We just not wasting time. And I love what you said about stop watering dead soil.
Yeah.
If it's just not working, stop trying to force it to work. It's not going to work. It wasn't designed to work. What it was designed to do was to provide you a lesson that you can use to move on and to focus on yourself, and to hopefully take that lesson and to improve and be better into the next relationship. Hopefully it's the last relationship, which is your spouse, that you could use those same things that you learned and you could use them to apply them into the right relationship, which is your marriage.
Yeah.
So I get that. What we got from John Anthony, sis?
He says, know your triggers. Don't make the person you're dating walk on eggshells. Remember, you are dating. If you become serious about the relationship, know how to overcome your triggers. That's good.
Okay. Good facts. Good facts. Amen. She's saying amen to you, sis. Amen. That's right. That's right.
I love the amen section.
Amen. Amen and amen.
Awesome. All right, guys, we got one last topic tonight. And if you're new here, we want to thank you so much for tuning in. Looks like we got a couple people watching us, and we appreciate your comments. Please go ahead. If you're not already following us or subscribe, please go ahead and click that follow or subscribe button. Please click like. And then if you guys are watching this on the replay, go ahead, let us know you're watching this on the replay. But right now we're live. So let's get into this last topic, Tim. And I'm going to play somebody that I just do not listen to. So before we get into this video, just know, ignore the person that is saying this information. Okay. By name
Who
of
is
Derek
it?
Jackson. Derek Jackson. Okay. Ignore that this is Derek.
No.
Okay.
Not Derek Jackson. No.
Ignore it. If he knows anything about toxicity, this is the man that could teach you how to be toxic. But he has actually shared some information and said that men actually have higher unobtainable standards than women. And I know the thing is, women want 6 foot, 6 figures, this and that. But he talks about the unrealistic expectations of a man. So we have that video.
Hold on. Before you play.
Uh-oh.
Play Jackson 5 instead of him.
Cute.
Yo, my man Q.
I like it.
Real talk. I don't want to hear this dude.
I like it. We got to end it on some foolery. Let's get into the video.
That's what trips me out. It's like, we say women got the unrealistic expectations, and some of them do, but ain't nobody got more unicorn, fairy tale, Dora the Explorer expectations of the opposite sex than us, men. Again, some women do expect a man to be 6 feet tall and make 6 figures and have a 6-pack abs, and that's unrealistic for most men. But I know like 10 dudes already that fit into that category. All you got to do is have a good job and some good genetics, and you're straight. But look at us. Like, what do we expect of a woman? She got to be a virgin, but she got to be a freak. She got to pay half the bills, but she got to do 100% of the cleaning, the cooking, the child raising. She got to be exhausted from all of that, all the cooking and washing and cleaning and all that good stuff, and still be horny enough to meet our sexual needs and get a good night's rest, but also wake up in the middle of the night in case we want some head and a turkey sandwich. That ain't it. She also got to give birth to all our babies because, you know, we got to have that legacy. But then she can't have no stretch marks and she got to lose that baby weight in 30 days or less. And then she got to do it while fighting postpartum depression by herself because we're going to tell her she having an attitude or something like that because all we thinking about is we ain't got no vagina in the last 6 weeks that she got to take to heal. That ain't it. Then she can get older, but she can't look older. Otherwise, we're going to say that she's falling off. Like, the list goes on, but just tell me something. How many women do you know that fit into that category? None. So who really got the unrealistic expectations?
Man, please. What's up, Katie? You look like you tagging your girl Olivia. What's up, Olivia? He sound like, you know, he sound like Uncle Remus at the cookout. Like the women can't clean. They 100% of the time. Like, he sounds stupid. I get. He did everything that he said was not true. No, not if you're gonna have a mic in your hand, if you're gonna have something to say. I'm not saying that what he said was not everything he said was wrong. A lot of it was right. I just can't get over the fact that he like publicly bled on the people with his whole message. So ignoring him like we trying to do and understanding the message is understandable because a lot of us men do have a lot of expectations about women. We have a lot of unspoken expectations about women. So everything that he was saying, men are not always verbally going to tell a woman that he expects this, and this. And that's part of the problem, is that there's unspoken expectations. And yes, a lot of the things he said are unrealistic. And we do in our minds say we wish a woman would do this and wish a woman would do that without her really knowing. And it's the same thing where we were saying like the high expectations are just mounting and mounting. And I feel like we have to give women grace when we have it. We like have expectations, but also extend grace if she falls short of those expectations. Because women are more inclined to give us grace when we fall short of expectations. But we feel as though the world is ending. We feel as though we're missing out on something, that we're losing something whenever she falls short of those expectations. And that's not fair to a woman. So I do agree with a lot of what he said. You know, not every man is like that. I think a lot of the good men and the real brothers, we know how to pull our weight and hold our own, and we don't have all these crazy outlandish expectations. But I just think that sometimes we got to take our mind off of ourselves. Like, we have to die to self on a daily basis. And if we're doing that, we can be better husbands and not have all these unrealistic expectations.
That was a very good PG-13 answer, my brother. Appreciate that.
Wow, you think I wanted to go R, right?
I felt like you did. It was like some things that you did not say.
I kept it politically correct.
You did. Let's get into some of these comments. So Ali says, so with him understanding all of that, what was his excuse?
Good point, baby. Absolutely. What was his excuse? Because he's saying all of this, like, oh, men do this, men do this. I would love for him to come out and replace men do this and say, I did this.
Yeah.
Replace it. Because you still sound like the same guy who didn't screw up or had it out there like you weren't screwing up. So that's where I would have been so much more receptive to the messenger if he would have put himself out there and been more transparent and said, I have high expectations of women. I do this, I do that, or I didn't do this, or I expect the woman to do this, which is why I cheated, which is why I stepped out. If you would have had that same level of transparency and that same level of humility, it would have gone so much farther. But you still want to be on the same, idea like you the man, I'm the man, and I wrote a book on this whole thing, and men don't do this and men don't do that. You sound like an idiot. That's just me. He's a narcissist.
Listen, I agree. Listen, I don't have no credentials, but if you were to ask me, PG, I would say, yeah, he's absolutely a narcissist, and he can speak to these things because he is these things just kind of based on what's been put out there. So I completely agree with that. But I also agree with what he was saying in terms of those unrealistic expectations that sometimes men put on women. And when it comes to vanity, you like to think that women are a bit more vain because we're always in the mirror. But I beg to differ just based on kind of how he broke it down there. It kind of seems like that longevity of vanity lingers for men. I've never heard a woman say like, I'm going to leave him because he got old. I've never heard that as one, and I could be wrong, right? I've never heard some of these things that men think about in terms of like men getting wrinkled or stretch marks. Because guys, you guys get stretch marks too. I've seen it. We've never commented on your stretch marks, but once we lose what is deemed as perfection in terms of our body and what you originally fell in love with, there are some unrealistic expectations that we just need to do away with. Like what happened to just growing old with somebody? I know it sounds weird to say that, but like what just happened? Like what happened to it? Growing old with somebody, being with the love of your youth. What happened to all those beautiful things and being able to finish with somebody you started with? We don't do a lot of that. I wish we got back to just finishing who we started with and just loving them as the seasons change, because guess what? Your seasons are changing too. But anyways, I'm not a Derrick Jackson fan. Never have been, never will be. But I appreciate him tonight for shining a little bit of light on his personal life. We appreciate that.
Yeah. Okay.
Alexis says he's a narcissist. Very true. Hard to take him serious, but I understand what he's saying. And John Anthony said, "Oh hell no."
Oh hell to the no. Oh hell to the no.
Which leads us back to our final thoughts, guys. We finished tonight.
No, hold on. We got one more. Hold on.
Is this spam again? Please come on now.
Yeah, that's
spam. All right.
Oh, wait a minute. Q said he said that to get his followers up.
Listen, Q, that sounds about right. There are women still following him right now. After all of that stuff, I didn't even know he's married. Let's talk about it. So after all that stuff that happened with him, no, but I didn't know he was married when he was married.
Oh yeah, me neither.
I was like, oh, he's getting divorced. Mm-hmm. Okay, weird. Didn't know you were married. Okay.
Yeah. Thanks. Miss Alexis, somehow the idea that women lose their value when they age and men gain their value as they age plays a part in the vanity.
I absolutely agree. I think we probably did that, right? We were complimenting men as they were getting older. We were calling them zaddy, okay? Yeah. We did that. We boosted their ego to our own demise, all right? We got to start just humbling them a little bit. Just this much. Just this much. Just that much.
Why you got humbled? Oh yeah, that's true. All right.
just this much, and then pick them back up.
I guess. All right. Well, you start with final thoughts.
All right, guys. Before I get in final thoughts, thank you guys so much for tuning in and watching us from start to finish. Even the late birds, we appreciate y'all for not forgetting about us week over week. We're here every Tuesday at 8:30 Central Standard Time. Me and my phenomenal co-host. But let's get into these final thoughts. We talked about Keke Palmer and Darius Jackson and the whole saga with the domestic abuse. So shout out to Keke for bringing that to light and protecting herself and her child. We also talked about Lori Harvey dating 101. And you know what? Lori, girl, keep doing your thing. Keep kissing the frog until you find the prince. You hear me? All right. And then we also talked about how to properly date. Guys, I mentioned to you, you got to stop dating like you're married and actually start dating, asking those serious questions up front, and then start to have fun when you're married. Like, you're wasting all the fun parts on people that you may not even make it to the finish line with. Like, just stop doing that craziness. All right. And then we did talk about Mr. Steal Your Time and how that young man was being accountable. And Tim also shared his come to Jesus moment. So did John. Shout out to John. They also shared their come to Jesus moment. So shout out to all the men that are being accountable, learning from their mistakes, and talking about the detriment, the effects of what they did to women, and making sure that their future doesn't look like their past. We also talked about healing, guys. Healing, solitude, and also being able to surround yourself with healthier people as you live, learn, and grow. And then letting go of dating when you're unequally yoked and when you're watering a dead place, a dead environment, dead soil, and then high expectations. I'm not even going to touch on that because we already know we got work to do on both sides. What you got, Tim?
I got nothing.
No, sir.
That's it. We good night, y'all.
No, sir. No,
sir. Keke, I'm very sorry that you're going through this with your narcissistic baby daddy. Very sorry about that. So I pray that you and your son and your family are good. That's all I got right there. Lori Harvey and dating, to each his own. I agree. Lori read her daddy's book. Yes. Yes, Lori read her daddy's book, and Lori is her father's child. But either way, I loved the video with Jadana, I believe, with his admission about women. It just really hit home for me. So that was really dope too. We've talked extensively about dating tonight. And so we've talked about dating from Dating 101. We've talked about when to let go of dating. We've also talked about expectations, how to properly date. We came from multiple angles on dating, and we understand why, because we live in a society and a culture where we want to be loved and we value relationship. It's just a matter about how we conduct ourselves in dating and relationships. You come to the table as yourself in dating, but then if you do find your spouse and you do get married, have fun, still date each other. Please date each other. It's like marriage, getting married is not the destination. That's not it. The destination is having a loving and fulfilling life together. That's the destination, and that's the destination that you'll never really reach until you get to glory anyway. So let's continue to work on a daily basis to having a beautiful life, amazing life together, by dating each other, even in marriage. But other than that, that is all I have. I want to thank you guys as well. Thank you so much. Thank you, Tam, my amazing co-host as well. We appreciate you guys watching tonight. Also, just to second that, please click follow, subscribe, like. We are on Facebook Live and YouTube Live every Tuesday at 8:30 Central, 9:30 Eastern. And it's just been a dope night. We got one more comment that flowed through, and it looks like Q is probably saying something funny, saying most must have read his book backwards. I don't know who this guy is, but he's pretty funny.
Yeah, Q. Join us next week, Q.
Join us next week.
And Maggie, be on time next week.
No, this has definitely been dope. This has definitely been dope, y'all. So thank you guys so much. You got anything else, Tim?
No, that's it, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in to another Back Pew Conversation. It's your girl, Tam.
It's your boy, Tim. We'll see y'all next Tuesday.
Bye.
My wife and I first started dating. She bought me some flowers.
She romanced you.
She romanced me.
Got it.
Is it weird to you? I mean, I'm still kind of trying to get comfortable with it.
Did she hold the door for
Man.
you?
Yo, no,
I can see a pedicure.
Would you?
Depends on his feet.
That could be Mara's feet, and you can do it.
No way, you about to be cutting up my hands.
Yo, what's going on? This is
the Tim and Tam Talks. All right, look, bring it home. Let's get into this.
We're gonna have a lot of great conversations.